Hey, hi, Kireet.
Hi, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good, good, good. How's it going? All good?
All good,
Everybody
all
locked
good.
down,
Yeah.
huh? Good.
uh, I think that this second wave has actually made the entire city again back to the same situation that what we actually
Yeah,
seen in
yeah.
2020. But I think that
Yep.
most of the people are now pretty aware of that how exactly they need to take care of themselves.
Yes, but people are still not aware it's a tidal wave. They think it's a small wave this time, right? So it's gonna be
Absolutely,
impacting
absolutely.
people. Yeah. Good.
And how are things at your end? I hope that you might have a busy schedule right now in terms of you have a
Yes.
couple of
So
shoots which are happening around.
yeah. So luckily we were among the work there during the lockdown as well, and we just finished a very big film for Hyundai, which is just released like 3 days
Wow.
ago for Hyundai
Wow.
SUVs, right? And we shot
Oh.
for 12 days across India, not across India, across North India, let me be specific, which is two
Wow.
locations in Rajasthan and two locations in Uttarakhand, but hundreds of miles away from each other. And it was very grueling. It was very grueling kind of session. So since I've come back around the 20th, I came back and we've been just busy doing the post production for that. It's kind of the
Oh.
tail end of that, and it's kind of
Yeah.
suffering right now because of the fact that there is lockdown is happening and studios are not available and people want to kind of do
So
everything
is
before
is
the Saturday. Yeah.
is Mumbai is under a lockdown or
Weekend lockdown. Weekend is
weekend
going to be
lockdown?
completely shut. Yeah, it's going to be a curfew
Completely
lockdown
shut.
kind of a thing. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've
Okay.
been told. But I don't believe because there are a lot of people who will still venture. So let's see. This is the first lockdown in a long time.
I know, I know. Great. Even Delhi is like there is a night curfew which initiated from this week onwards. So let's see.
Yeah.
I hope things will be better back in shape.
Yep. Yep.
Great,
Good.
great. I think that we are live now, Kireet. Let's
Yes.
start and initiate the conversation. And
Right.
before we pick up the conversation in terms of about the today's topic, I think I want to wish good evening to all our viewers. And I'll quickly go ahead and give you a brief introduction about
Hi.
Kireet. And I think that though Kireet doesn't really require an introduction because he himself he's such an eminent and such a renowned individual that all of our viewers will know about Kireet in and out, right? But still, I would like to kind of go ahead and give us brief introduction of you, Kireet, and I'll take probably 2 minutes for that. So, thank you, and thank you all our viewers for joining in today. And as we said, that we are back with another electrifying session under our platform Invest in I and Vast Story. And I extend my warm welcome to all for joining us here today at another much anticipated discourse. And as always, your support has been truly overwhelming. And as we begin with another inline, insightful discussion, I would like to thank each one of you for being a part of this series, showing your constant support and encouraging us to come back each time with multiple insightful, inspiring topics. So, thank you very much. And as we've always mentioned in all our sessions, that Kireet is here to probably give answers to your questions. So, if in case you would have any questions, you can put all those questions on the comment section, and we'll pick up those questions at the end of the session. And if in case those questions are and try and kind of put questions which are relevant to the topic today, we'll just share the topic what we're going to cover today, and I'm sure that Kireet would be able to kind of give your responses to your questions if the time
I'd,
allows.
I,
And if-
I'd like to interject here since you are elevating me so much that there is a very eminent Hollywood filmmaker and writer who has this beautifully oft repeated quote which says, "Nobody in this industry knows anything." And that's really what it is. Because you come to the industry and people have a lot of opinions, and basically nobody knows anything. And of course, the second part is that at best you can make an informed, educated guess, but really you have to really follow your heart in what you're doing. You know? So,
yeah,
as a filmmaker, that's the kind of advice that anybody entering into the film industry, we give that advice.
No,
Yeah,
that's perfect, and I think it is just not relevant to film industry because it's relevant to every sort of another other industry that we
right.
actually people are
Absolutely.
into. Yeah, yeah, because you need to
Absolutely.
come with that kind of mindset that you need to learn and you need to unlearn what you've learned, right? Because there are definitely going to be a lot of new things that you can learn in that particular
Yeah.
industry, company,
Yeah.
corporate that you be a part
Right.
of.
Right.
Yeah, very
And I
rightly
think,
said.
yeah, well, and I think everybody has an opinion. It is, including me, I will be giving an opinion, and it will be coming through a certain prism. It will be coming through a certain conditioning or an understanding. It may not be the truth. So
Yeah,
everybody needs to find their own truth, right? That is very
true.
important. So I can only share my experiences. I can only share what is out there factually, and some of it will be obviously subjective, which is my feedback on my understanding. That's what.
But the kind of time that you've spent in the industry, I'm sure that you've been a learned individual, and there is a lot that we need to kind of that there are going to be a lot of takeaways that we'll have it from this session. So
Like
as
you.
we said that Kireet doesn't need an introduction, but still I wanted to kind of I prepared a small introduction for him, and I wanted to kind of go ahead and share that introduction, Kireet. So as we all by now that we know that we are speaking and we have Kireet Khurana with us today, who'll be guiding us through on the talk session. And the topic for today is: does television affect our overall intelligence? And I think this is a very important topic because there have been so many conversations are happening in today time when exactly the world of OTT and when a lot of people under lockdown have reinvented themselves on and they have been completely relied on television. I think that 2020 has been the most revolutionary year for television. As in, I don't know if that's the fact or not, but I firmly believe that because I have seen a change in myself. So
Really?
Kireet, you'll be able
Okay.
to kind of give us more insight about it. But
Well,
definitely when we talk
I'm
about
very curious.
yeah.
I'm very curious to know what change happened in 2020 for you in terms of watching the programs and all.
I
Like,
was someone who was someone who can't spend more than 30 minutes in a day in front of a television. And then during this
oh,
lockdown
okay.
2020, yeah, I have completed and I've watched a couple of series. I've done binge watching for a lot of weekends. So that is
Oh,
something
fantastic.
which has yeah.
Okay, great.
So I think that has been a change that I've seen in myself.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. Now that's a huge jump for sure. Good.
So as I've introduced Kireet has been the receiver of 6 acclaimed national awards and around 14 international awards, and yet over multiple assorted awards for his defining work as a director. His brilliant work specialized not just in filmmaking, but in commercials, public service films, animation films, and education. So making him a highly skilled master in broadcasting media itself. So, having conceptualized and co written many masterpieces, to Kireet, introduction indeed falls short to describe his life journey that inspire us through and through with the motivation to keep giving the best food, keep hunting our passion, and keep shooting for the moon. So, please welcome Kireet Khurana, our guest for the evening. It is indeed an honor to have you here with us, Kireet, on our platform.
Very, very happy to be here, Amit, and speaking to you.
Great. So I think let's quickly jump on the topic. The topic,
Yeah.
as we just mentioned, the topic of discussion today is: does television affects our overall intelligence? And so to begin with this session, I wanted to kind of ask you something which is very important. As in, I think this is we all have probably realized a wave of new social science has actually came in, wherein a lot of research shows that the quality of shows can influence us in important ways and shaping our thinking and political preferences, even affecting our cognitive ability. So movies and televisions have a lot of influence on our society, but how do they actually influence people's behavior? That is something which I wanted to understand. I'm sure there are a lot of viewers who really wanted to understand that as well.
Well, you know that, Amit, we are consuming content. I mean, I don't want to talk about films only because I think content is being consumed everywhere, whether it's through memes or
Yeah.
through short videos or through some videos that are masquerading as the truth, and some lies that are being peddled or whatever. So I think the overall our consumption of the screen time, whether it's on the phone or whether it's on the mobile phone, or it's on the laptop or it's on television, that has grown manifold over the last few years,
Yeah.
largely because of the fact that obviously data is so much cheaper and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So obviously, it is predominantly influencing human beings, and it's predominantly influencing their behavior, and not all of it is in fact a lot of it is not very healthy at all, because you see a lot of the new generation actually growing up with anxiety, and
Yeah.
they're constantly on social media, which is also in some sense a content,
Absolutely.
and they watch videos, or they watch memes, or they watch those TikTok videos,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some small films, or whatever. So yes, but it's a much larger discussion in those areas. So I think probably what we should do is we should focus primarily on television. When we talk about television,
Yeah.
should we also include digital platforms
Yeah.
as well, right? Is
Absolutely.
that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
because
I agree.
television, and there is a convergence that is going to happen soon, if not already there, in some sense, that television is also being available on live stream of television is also being available on digital platforms. Except that in the
Yeah.
digital platform, you can consume that same content in a non-linear fashion, which is you can
Yeah.
consume it whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Uh, it is a known fact that obviously, and it's not something that is new, is for cinema's history has been probably 120 years old now, and
Yeah.
obviously people
Absolutely.
are deeply influenced by films, and the people's psyche is deeply influenced by film, because films are a way of storytelling, just like books and just like
True.
novels
True.
and just
Yeah.
like anything else, right? And Plato has an amazing quote which says, "Those who tell stories rule society." And this is the reason why that why America won the war over the Cold War over Russia, or why it is eventually, no matter how big China becomes, eventually the war is going to happen for the mind space. It's going to happen for the overall psyche, and that you are more familiar and more you have greater affinity to American storytelling and American stories, and you identify yourself more with Americans than you would ever identify yourself with the Chinese. Even though the Chinese may be more empathetic, or maybe they may be more compassionate, and they may be, but the way the Americans write their stories and the way their uh, Hollywood culture has pervaded
Yeah.
and infused everywhere, it is one of the biggest soft powers in the world. And of course,
Absolutely.
apart from making the trillions of dollars that it does, it's the biggest soft power.
True.
So yes, it's a huge influence, and America realized it earlier. And of course, their machinery keeps churning out the stuff to make, which makes the Americans save the world, make the Americans win every single war, and make the Americans superheroes, and all superheroes come from America, not from the rest of the world, and they are the ones who are going to stand up against the Armageddon, or a meteorite attack, or what have you. I mean, whatever, or the interstellar travel.
Yeah.
Again, is
Yeah.
going to be led by America, not by somebody else. So these are all, and therefore America becomes the land of opportunity. Think about what Hollywood is actually doing. Think about what it is actually
Yeah.
doing. It's it's attracting so many brightest minds, because they think the America is this fantasy world where everything is so magical and so beautiful and so powerful, and it's going to save the world. And whereas what is happening right now in America, of course, with Trump, was that they couldn't save themselves from the pandemic attack, and it had the largest number of
Yeah.
cases. So the
Absolutely.
reality is completely different. Yeah, so that's
Absolutely.
all. That's all the story power, right? That's the story power of storytelling. Those who tell stories rule society. Very simple.
Yeah. So I think that it's a brilliant platform where exactly that you can actually express whatever that you want to express, and then
Yes.
yeah, then you can actually make people to firmly believe in what exactly that you're showing, and whatever your story is.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as television is concerned, I think television, when we talk about two parts now. The OTT, which is the Netflixes and the Amazons of the world, they are far more ambitious and they are far more experimental with their content, or at least have been till about the pandemic start of the pandemic.
Yeah,
Now again, they are just taking films that are not released, regular Hindi films they're taking, and they are trying to put it in their platform. So they are becoming like the rest, but they're getting the subscribers and they're getting the numbers. So nothing wrong with it. It's not really what the mandate was, and it didn't seem like that's what they would start doing right at the beginning.
yeah,
It was a platform for experimenting with avant-garde cinema, with avant-garde stories, with very different kind of experimental, almost something that was not something that were driven by archetypal plots, which were more driven by this dystopian plots, or very very unique log lines, or very unique premises. And
yeah,
therefore it was considered to be a haven for filmmakers who were thinking differently, who were thinking very very radically. But that, unfortunately, that uh, that bit has taken a bit of a beating. That perception has
mm,
taken a bit of a beating. It's becoming more and more conventional as the days go. Of course, I'm hoping that it's just a
yeah,
temporary space. Whereas if you see the GEC channels, whether you see Sony or you see Star or you see others, and you see the soaps,
yeah,
they are so regressive,
yeah,
right? And there was a time that I was actually trying to get into the television industry, and one of the programming heads, she was my close friend. She's my close friend, and she said, "You know what, Kireet? I mean, I was exploring. I was just like, I met her, so I said, okay,
yeah,
what would it take for me to get into television? I would like to dabble with television as well." He said, "Television
yeah,
is not for you." I said, "Why?" He said, "Do you watch the Sas Bahu series at 2 p.m. in the afternoon?" I said, "No, why should I watch it?" He said, "Exactly. If you do not know who your audience is, it's the housewife in the B centers and the C centers whom they are
yeah,
primarily targeting most of the time. Sometimes the A centers, but primarily people who are sitting at home, and
absolutely.
they switch on the television at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and it goes on till 9 or 10. They're just watching the same brain dead stuff of a joint family, a dysfunctional joint
Yeah,
family, trying to get a lot of one-upmanship over each other,
true.
a lot of bitching, a lot of conniving, a lot of family wars, and all
Yeah,
those kind of small petty stuff that you would see, the people who do not have ambition beyond just what is happening, that
yeah,
why was the class kept like this, or why was she's given a more expensive sari than me, and stuff
yeah,
like that. And that's really where television delves for a large part, and it is so regressive. And
yeah,
I attribute a lot of the regression that India is experiencing today, a lot of the regression that India is experiencing today. When we talk about India, you know, there are these large pockets of India that is not progressive. And I see it has been perpetuated and validated by these kind of programs. So it has kept it
and
alive. If people would have moved on, it still
absolutely.
kept it alive.
Yeah. So I think there is a difference between the viewers, right? So there are certain set of viewers who actually watch television for entertainment, and there is another set of viewers who probably would pick up more of a content, right? When you actually said about storytelling, right? How brilliant the content is, and somebody who's just want to get entertained by whatever is happening, could be a Sas Bahu serial or could be something else, right? Fancy music and
So this is an oft-repeated argument, I would say. The
okay,
argument is no, this is the kind of stuff that people want to watch. Therefore, we will give them what they want to watch,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
One has to understand that the Bimal Roys, the Satyajit Rays, the Ritvik Ghataks, the Rishikesh Mukherjees in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they made some extraordinary films, and people used to consume that.
true, true,
Okay,
absolutely.
and the cinema, Indian cinema, degraded so much in the 80s, 90s, and 2000, and you cannot remember any single song for the last 20, 30 years. And they said, no, no, this work, see, it made 100 crores. The fact of the matter is that you still go back to a Guru Dutt film. The fact of the matter is that if you still want to watch a classic, then you still go back to a Bimal Roy film. You still go back to a Rishikesh film or a Basu Chatterjee or a Basu Bhattacharya film. It is not available in today's time.
Absolutely.
There is one of maybe something that will come up. So this is
Yeah.
the fallacy. We have put ourselves in a cesspool with our banal storytelling. That's what it is. If you give something that people can aspire for, they will latch on to it.
Yeah.
Do not dumb it down for them. One is that when you have a child, some parents say, "Oh, how are you, baby?" So it's like, okay, they're talking to a child as if in a child's language. But
Yeah.
there are
True.
some other set of parents who talk to him as if him or her, the child, as an adult, and they
Yeah.
say,
True.
"Oh, you dropped it. Okay, next time don't do that. Okay, the second thing is very okay. My child may just look at you and doesn't understand because he's probably one year old or 2 years old child. But the fact of the matter
Absolutely.
is that you're having an adult conversation with a child, and the child therefore aspires to become more mature. It's in
True.
the emotional quotient of the child goes up, and you're not kind of talking down upon the child and trying to uh, infantilize the kid. The kid is
Yeah.
already an infant, but you're trying to infantilize them a bit further.
True.
And so
True.
this infantilizing is happening a lot.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot in television. Yeah, it is happening
So
in the GEC space specifically. Yeah, you can see that.
no, absolutely correct. And I think that it is pretty evident when you actually uh, observe people around you, and you yourself would see people in your family, and
Right,
people who that you
right,
actually talk about television and media, that how exactly it
right.
is impacting everybody, right? And
Right.
I think that I've got a couple of questions, and I want to pick up one of the questions out from the
Go
comment
ahead.
section. And
Go
it
ahead.
says that there is a universal belief that television is what disturbs the mindset of the youth. So do you personally agree with this, or do you think it unlocks the mindset and opens creativity? Because I think that you've done a lot of creative work
Right.
in media and in broadcasting.
Right.
uh,
Right.
so wanted to understand that. So
Right. See, again, I am not the be all end all or the know all of everything, right? I will tell you what I do. I will tell you what I do, and if people want to follow that, then it's okay. I believe that television is just one of the experiences that you can look at, right?
yeah,
If people are consuming television for 6 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours or anything above 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours a day, and then do not have any other activity of reading or socializing or adventure sports or travel or meeting new people,
yeah,
then all your perceptions, all your thoughts, all your experiences is coming from television, and therefore
absolutely.
that the analogy being used for television is an idiot box. You become an idiot because you have not experienced life in totality with all its
Yeah,
facets and with all
yeah,
its milieu and with all its gamut
true,
that it's offered,
true,
right? For
true.
me, getting a great education is first and foremost important because that
Yeah,
allows you to
agreed.
absorb whatever is
The
coming on
content. Yeah,
television, wherever it's coming from on WhatsApp University or wherever it allows you to analyze and
yeah,
critically analyze and take only what suits you. Only
absolutely.
that you've analyzed that you are certain somebody who is concerned with the truth. So the idea is to kind of
True.
read books on philosophy, read books on spirituality, read books on anthropology, read books on,
Yeah,
apart from whatever, read books everywhere across the board, and then get an understanding of yourself first. And then, of course, if somebody's throwing some information, this is a point of view. This is not really
yeah,
necessarily the truth or whatever. So it's important to get those multi-dimensional experiences, and in
yeah,
that books, in that travel, in that meeting new people, talking to the rickshaw wala if you're going by a
yeah,
rickshaw, talking to a chai wala if you're
yeah,
having chai by the roadside,
yeah.
the gamut of experiences you need to have a worldview,
Absolutely.
is important.
Yeah, it's
Reading
important.
news from credible sources, that is important. So television, but if you're the only consuming television, obviously then you're in big problem, no matter what you're consuming. So you're in big problem.
Absolutely.
Then obviously you're going to dumb it down, and then all your information or all your understanding of our human relationships is also coming from there. It's not coming from you having spoken to
True, true.
some Sherpa in Ladakh and asked him about his life and gone to his house and had chai. That's real, not the one that comes on television. If you really want to understand that,
Absolutely.
you know what I'm
But
saying?
yeah, but people try and kind of create role models out of those daily soaps, or probably any of the uh, 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 character that they idolize and they want to kind of follow what is exactly that they
Right.
do. Even in corporate world, I've seen that there are a lot of people who actually pick up professional characters from a series or from a book, and they try and kind of intimate similar ways of dealing with people.
Right. So
And
yeah,
that's
I
very, very
mean,
true.
nothing stops them from doing that. To each his own, and I can't even say that's wrong because it all depends on case to case basis on which character you're trying to emulate.
Yeah,
You know, we also get
true.
influenced by books. We also get influenced by characters in the books.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
imbibing a
yeah.
lot of attributes of some characters that I read in the books, and obviously some part of that is still residue within me or subliminally somewhere there. So whether I imbibe it from books or
Absolutely.
I imbibe it from television, it's about what attributes you've imbibed or what attributes you're emulating or what attributes you've been impressed with, and where is that information coming from, and how you critically analyze that information. Is that
Yeah,
something that you have reshaped yourself into? Like you and I having a conversation.
true, true,
You are influencing me in certain ways, and I'm influencing you in certain ways, whether we want it or we don't, because it's an interaction.
yeah,
I'm willing to,
true.
it's a
Absolutely.
subliminal kind of,
Yeah,
and that is important because I cannot be static and you shouldn't be either.
true, true.
So we will be changing as individuals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, brilliantly shared the thoughts that you have. Now moving to another very interesting question, and since you just spoken about books and television, they're very closely related. As in, I think
Right.
that they both share content, right? They're a
Right.
platform where exactly the stories can
Right.
be told. So we watch movies and theater for entertainment and definitely for inspiration, and sometimes we learn something out of it as well. And most people
Correct.
turn to books for these lessons. But do you think that
Absolutely.
people can draw these lessons from films? Because generally, what happens is that people have more inclination towards entertainment when they actually been watching movies or watching theater instead of taking lessons from them and using it in the corporate world or probably in their life. Though you said that you
Right.
probably make an idol of an individual and then try and imitate that individual in your life, but do the way that people get impressed with as in book has a very different kind of a impression which actually gets into an individual. They get into the character. They once you read a book, you get into a character, right? You, but I'm
Yeah.
not too sure how closely that a movie can impact an individual character.
Right. 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 So again, this is information that is available in the public domain, and because it is something that as a storyteller you kind of need to know the difference. So I can tell you this is not subjective. This is very objective. What I'm going to share with
Okay.
you as an answer, because it's something that is not made by me. It is just out there in public
Yeah.
domain available. What is the basic difference between a book and cinema or any kind of content? Well, it's cinema, we talk about audio visual medium, we call it audio visual medium.
Yeah.
It could be cinema, it
Yeah.
could be television, it could be OTT or whatever.
Anything. Yeah.
The idea is that mostly cinema is show and tell. I
Yeah.
cannot say Amit Kapoor was a wise man and he thought that he could start this portal and he could probably do good for humanity. Now
Yeah.
that is book when I'm talking
That is
about
good.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe the narrative comes in terms also, but the narrator is usually a poor device for conveying a story. But if I have to show Amit Kapoor and if I have to convey this, then I have to show Amit Kapoor opening his laptop and talking to his assistant. He says, I think this session is really going to help a lot of people today. And that conveys what Amit Kapoor is doing. right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
conveys exactly that Amit Kapoor was a wise man and he wanted to change the psyche of the, and he thought he would build up
Yeah.
portal and whatever. The moment it opens and you see the screen there and you see the screen opening and a split screen happening and the profile of the speaker and all that stuff, and he talks to his assistants like, I think this is going to really help society. This is the great stuff,
Yeah.
and I think we should change minds as we go along. So
Yeah.
it's a show and tell. Whereas the
Yeah.
book can get into Amit Kapoor's head, which is to say that if you have any ulterior motive, it can go into that as well. Maybe Amit Kapoor wanted to kind of build this thing because at some point he felt that he would be powerful like Jack Ma, and maybe he had that. Whatever, whatever. Now,
Yeah.
how does cinema say that? There is no way to say it because you can't get into
Yeah.
the head of the character, right?
Yeah.
You can't get into the head of
Absolutely.
the character. That's the basic
Yeah.
difference. That books get into the head of the characters. You can write the story from the head of the character. Action is happening here in the head of the
True.
character. So
True.
somebody thought this happening, but maybe not, and then he thought that he went to childhood and his childhood experiences that taught him something different. Now that, how do you bring that in film?
True.
And it's non-linear, mostly mostly non-linear novels, because you can go back
Yeah.
and forth and you can just add a line here and there. You can talk about any kind of problems. Whereas if I were to if I have to say, Ravi was an extremely anxious person and his anxiety grew further with age. His anxiety also grew more and more because he was
Yeah.
worried and concerned about his career, whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
In screenplay, I will have to write Ravi has a frown on his face
Yeah.
and he looks worried.
Yeah.
You can't even say he's worried. He looks worried. That's the
He
look
looks
on his
good.
face because
Yeah.
that's the show and tell.
Absolutely.
You don't know
Yeah.
what's going
Yeah.
on in his head, by the way, why he's worried.
Absolutely.
That will come in dialogue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Will I get a job? Then the dialogue comes in and Ravi says, will I get a job? So that's how you need to be written. Very different. Yeah, so they are completely different mediums.
Yeah.
Books are definitely better
Yeah.
because there is a lot of richness and layering that you can get in the books that you cannot get in movies or in
Absolutely.
audiovisual mediums. So
Yeah.
books are important to read. In fact, if you want to be a filmmaker also, or if you want to be a consumer of content also, you will have to read books to
True.
understand how cinema or how content needs to be appreciated or how it has to be evaluated. Even for that, you need to have read books. There is no video available for that. I mean, there are videos, but how it is. So that's what it is.
So yeah. So I think that very well explained again, and you absolutely right. I think the kind of layers which are there that you when you read a novel or a book, right? The way things or the characters being expressed are something which you can't really explain it when you there in the movie and cinema,
Correct.
because
Correct.
it's more of a body language which actually try and narrate half of the expressions
Yeah.
and then just the dialogues, right? And could be very basic dialogues
It's a show
wherein,
and
as you
tell.
said,
It's a show and tell.
show and tell, and
Yeah.
when you exactly have to express that emotion of an individual on through words, it is really very difficult, and
Yeah.
trust you me, that's something which makes an impact on an individual.
Well, well. So, for example, if the book says he was seething in rage, but he tried very hard to conceal it, and he was still holding on to that poker face expression so that his
Yeah.
true intent would never be revealed. Now, how do you do it in acting? Like this, right? I mean,
Yeah,
what's going on in my
absolutely.
head? You don't know, right? So that's what it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely right. So there was an article which I was reading. So there was one survey which was conducted, which says that there is an estimated. It has been estimated that 10 years exposure to cable television lowered an IQ scores by 1.8 points. As in that has been a survey which has been conducted. So I'm not too sure. Is there some factual behind the same, or do you believe in that or not?
That's it. The 1.8 is nothing. Yeah. I thought it would be, I thought it would go down by at least 20 points. No, but But jokes apart, basically, I don't know if there can be a defining survey which can nail this with a reasonable accuracy because it's so
Yeah,
difficult. I mean, it is a very challenging thing. Whom are you talking about? At what point? Who took the IQ? And because it's spanning over a decade, how do you actually
yeah,
quantify? Because people become less and more intelligent as they go along. What about the people who still
absolutely,
watch TV and still become intelligent because they were doing other things along with it? Maybe reading books as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Maybe meeting new people. Maybe thinking of new ideas. Maybe talking to intelligent people. Maybe being a good circle of influence. Stuff like that. So a lot of factors depend. Your circle of influence, your immediate friends, your immediate neighbors, your immediate family, whom you interact with most. That circle of influence is the most important thing after whatever else you're consuming, all your sensory perceptions that you're consuming.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
there's so many variables there. It's very difficult to
So
say. Yes, but
absolutely,
if you're watching too much TV, yes, that will most certainly happen. And again, with if I'm watch like I watch a lot of TV, but I watch documentaries and I watch Net Geo and I watch Discovery, and
more
that is
informative.
not making. Yeah. So it all depends on what you're watching.
Yeah, the
Now,
content. Yeah, what do you? Yeah,
television is also such a broad term, right?
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
so what are you watching on television? Like I'm watching
That's
news,
that's
but
important. Yeah,
I'm not watching Republic, right? So I
yeah,
mean, so it's not dumbing me down or whatever.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I think that content really plays a very important part. That
Right,
what category of content that you actually watching in the television
right,
that can actually add
right.
a value add to your overall knowledge or
Yeah,
depreciating it
yeah,
to a great extent.
yeah,
So there is
yeah.
a very, very important question that I've been getting in different forms from the parents, and they've been saying this thing. Their children have been spending a lot of time on television, right? So children are known to be the most influenced by content as they are picking up new information and television. Do you think that television really influence children's behavior? Because right now what is happening is that because during the lockdown children have stopped moving outside the house uh, for all physical activities, and they've been spending more time on watching a lot of content. It could be YouTube's or it could be other platforms where exactly that you would have visual content available. So
Yeah.
do you think that does it really impact the child's behavior?
Yes, of course, of course. And in fact, advertisers will recognize this, and it's a known fact. I mean, when we talk about research, right? Research
Yeah,
shows that not in our generation we did not have a say, but research shows that today's generation children have a big say in
absolutely. Yeah,
what is actually this thing, right? By the
yeah,
parents.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh, so, so, just to give you an example, obviously we know that there are car commercials running on Cartoon Network and Disney, right?
yeah,
Or there is a refrigerator ad happening on
yeah,
24 hours cartoon channels, or there is some other ad happening, which is that product has got nothing to do with the child, but the child may be
influencer.
he may be also using that product, or it may be part of the house, but the child is a say and a big
Yeah,
say in that decision being made. Now, what is that if that's not influence? That the
yeah,
advertiser is latching on to the young vulnerable mind and telling him, hey, you know what, get your mom to buy this or get your dad to buy this, right? Make sure they buy this one. They buy Hyundai, they don't buy a Maruti or they don't buy a Honda or whatever. Now, so that is something that obviously is being played out over there, and that's a huge vulnerable, impressionable audience sitting there, and they are watching these ads in the middle of their favorite TV shows, and they love the TV shows. And one of the other things about kids is that they will watch the same show 4 times over or five
again,
times over. So actually, the law of diminishing returns doesn't apply to them. They enjoy it every time till the phone will dip, and then it plateaus for the next 8, 10 screenings, and then it starts to dip down. Right? That's the kind of
yeah,
uh, overall research that it goes up for the first 4 screenings, like they enjoy it more and more every time you see it. and after 4 it sort of plateaus, and but it remains at a plateau for a long time before it starts to their interest starts to diminish. So these are influences, and advertisers have understood this. Influencers have understood
Yeah.
this, and everybody is capitalizing on it. I wouldn't say exploiting because they're capitalizing on it. So they have another they have another platform where they can reach out to kids, and kids are having more and more say due to more liberal upbringing, which is fairly getting more and more common in India. And kids
No,
are deciding,
absolutely.
you know.
And I completely agree and resonate to the same as well, because I know when exactly I supposed to buy a car, it's the decision was all being taken by my daughter, which brand,
Exactly.
which kind of a moonroof that she requires. So because
And which
and I
color
was
also.
actually surprised which color. Yeah. So even sometimes that I actually get confused at where exactly that you got all this information from. But yes, that's how the kids are now.
Yeah. So that happens, and it's the same in every house. I mean, it's not much different. In mostly case centers, I think everybody pretty much has a liberal upbringing, and kids are given importance, and they are given their opinion holds a lot of weight. So they
True,
are
true.
their vote is counted. There's a veto
and
there.
and and, and I think that is one of the concern as well, because when a child is not being given a right kind of a content to view, then also it becomes difficult for a parents, any parent to kind of go and convince them that because now they have a say and they've kind of visualized or they've seen something which probably might not be in my budget, or because of some reasons that we won't want to pick it up, right? But still, because child doesn't really get into that in-depth information about that product, right? But they fantasize about that product, and then they insist to kind of go ahead and they put their say forward, which makes it more complicated sometimes, the decisions.
Yeah, so I think that's what parenting is all about, knowing where to draw the line and knowing how to not be authoritative enough yet ensure that the right thing is being done,
Yeah,
and trying to explain to the child, reason with the child, trying to cajole, distract, demolish the argument, whatever you need to do, in a manner that it appears to be democratic at times, or maybe it's not democratic, but it should appear to be democratic at times. But it is the right thing has to be done.
yeah,
But there is no escaping an argument. So argument will need
true.
to be there, and it's a good thing that if children are given a valid argument, I think many children are able to take the right decision if they are presented with the right kind of
Absolutely.
facts. That's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great, great. So, moving to the final question for this episode,
Sure.
and again, being a son and a successor of the animation pioneer of India, Shri Bhimsen Khurana, your whole life must be deep rooted in the film industry. And as a filmmaker or simply as a creator, what inspires or drives you to work on unique concept that leads you to create such a phenomenal work of art?
So, see, basically, I think all of us have a calling, and some of us find it, some of us don't. And for me, when I see a story that excites me, story that moves me, touches me, inspires me, and I feel like this is the story that I need to put out there, I work towards trying to see how I can get it out there, right?
Yeah.
That is the whole important part. If I feel this is a story that needs to be told, then that's it. I mean, that's really my discussion starts there. The next discussion is how do you get the money for it,
Yeah.
okay, to make what you really want to do, because it's an important story. According to me, this is my way of working, not necessarily. Others will think, पैसा कौन सा बनाएगी, market में क्या चलता है, hit hogi ki nahi hogi, those considerations don't come from me. I look at this is a great story, and it's an empowering story, it's an inspirational story, or it's a story that needs to be told because this will in some way impact people.
Yeah.
If the story meets that criteria, then I just go for it. To be very honest, I just go for it,
Wonderful.
and I then go about trying to find, okay, now what am I going to fund? fund this from. So
So,
the journey is longer because there are not too many
yeah,
people who believe in it. But
true.
at the same time, it's important to kind of follow your heart and do what you want to do, right? And do the right
Absolutely.
thing, not just self-serving, but serving the society. Because filmmaking is a very powerful tool. It's a very storytelling is a very powerful tool. It can
Yeah,
shape minds either way. Like it can influence minds in the bad way and in a good way. You can
yeah,
see what's happening with the WhatsApp university, how much it has changed the world, how
absolutely.
the rise of the Trump and rise of the right wings over here as well. I mean, you can see that it's all pervading. I mean, there is no truth left. Truth has been
Yeah.
demolished and everything is coming to the post-truth world. Now, idea is that there should be people who should be critically analyzing it and say, hey, you know what? We still need to keep talking about the truth because the
Yeah.
untruths are taking over the world. So that's important.
No, very rightly said, and I think I so much agree with you on this fact, and that's how that it actually makes you different from anybody. You That's the reason that you've been a unique director. The reason being because you follow heart. You probably try and kind of whatever that you feel is have a good content and is good for people, and who can actually can inspire a certain segment of people. You follow that, and then you probably pick up that story and try and kind of create a revenue model out of it. That's fact. But definitely you do not really try and kind of build in something which is more fancy stories and is purely based on entertainment. So that's something which is very interesting and unique, and that's how that you always have been inspiring to a lot of other people.
Yes.
So
I'm
thank you
just
for keep
following my heart.
building. So
I'm
thanks
just
for
following
building
my
such
heart.
kind of unique. Yes, I'm so
So
sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I,
Continue.
I, I would. I mean, this is me. I mean, I would. I'm just living my life. I just live my life
Yeah.
that I'm comfortable with. I'm not doing anybody a favor. This is the way it is. I can't live any other way. So this is it.
Yeah. But this is super impressive, and I think a lot of people actually get inspired by viewing the documentaries that you've made, and the kind of movies and the friction movies also that you've tried kind of experimented with. So, which is brilliant. I think that the kind of work and the content that you've always created is always inspiring and have touched the heart of a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we wish that we would be able to kind of see a lot of work from you, and keep
Yes,
getting inspired. Yeah, keep getting inspired always by you, the way that you've always done that in the past.
I'm.
So
I'm also looking for inspiration all the time, so it's okay. I think all of us need to look outside of the self to look for inspiration. And,
no, it was a wonderful and inspiring chat with you, Kireet. It was so good to
yeah.
kind of sharing this platform with you, and being able to kind of go ahead and get an opportunity to speak my heart out in front of you, and try to kind of get the responses, brilliant responses from you. And
Thank you.
always, you have been a true inspiration for a lot of people, and I have been a strong follower of you. So thank you very much, Kirit,
Thank you.
for all the
Thanks,
time
Amit,
and
for having me
lovely
here.
words.
Thanks
Thanks,
for having
Kirit.
me here. It was a
Thanks,
pleasure to talk to you.
thanks, Kirit, and thanks to all our viewers for putting these questions, comments. We really love your participation. Keep your participation on. And in case if you still have some questions around the topic, please put that on the comment section. We'll pick up those separately with Kirit, and I'm sure Kirit would be happy to respond back to you.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Kirit, and all our viewers. Enjoy your weekend. Take care. Stay safe. Thank you.
Having a great lockdown weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.